So when it became clear that Kamala Harris was going to be the Democratic nominee for president, everyone was wondering, who's her vice president going to be? Vice presidential candidate. Well, she's picked, finally. So the chatter can die down. And we can get back to regular old politicking. So this is NBC News. Harris picks Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for running mate. Vice President Kamala Harris has selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her vice presidential running mate, adding a popular Midwestern state executive to the Democratic ticket as the party gears up to hold on to key northern battleground states this fall. Harris's campaign texted supporters Tuesday morning, calling Walz a battle-tested leader who had an incredible track record of getting things done for Minnesota families and asking for donations to support the new ticket. In picking Walz, who is in his second term and also served 12 years in Congress, Harris will have her number two someone with a proven record of winning over white working-class voters in Rust Belt states, while also boasting a robustly progressive record. Democrats will hope that mix of attributes help a Harris-Walz ticket shore up support in the one-time blue wall state of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, longtime Democratic strongholds at the presidential level that Trump flipped in 2016 and Joe Biden flipped back in 2020. This year, they've been seen as Biden's and now Harris's most viable path to victory. Walz, 60, had initially been viewed as a long shot in a field of vice presidential contenders. That list included rising party stars, some of whom had been mentioned as future presidential candidates, including Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who praised Walz in a statement that he's fully committed to electing the Harris-Walz ticket. Now Harris has chosen a governing partner who has leaned in at times to a folksy Midwestern reputation while also proving to be a reliable attack dog against Trump. And then it says down here, as governor, Walz has overseen a bonanza of progressive policy accomplishments, particularly during his second term, during which Democrats have also controlled both chambers of the legislature. He has signed laws protecting abortion rights, legalized recreational marijuana, restricting gun access, and providing legal refuge to trans youth whose access to gender-affirming and other medical care has been restricted elsewhere. Walz also enacted laws expanding paid family leave, banning most non-compete agreements, providing universal school meals for students, and capping the price of insulin in Minnesota 3 years before Biden did it nationally. A list of legislative wins his colleagues and supporters have said would translate nationally. In recent years, Walz has turned up the public dial, trying out attacks against Trump and Senator J.D. Vance in a slew of media appearances. In a late July interview on MSNBC Morning Joe, he ripped Trump and Vance as weird, gaining wider notice. Harris herself began using the weird line almost immediately. So, I mean, Tim Walz is not a super well-known name, so there will need to be time to, build up his reputation so people can understand what sort of person he is. It would appear, though, that this was a pretty good pick on Harris's part. The article, emphasizes this pretty clearly, but, he has sort of the two things that a Harris VP pick, would need to have in order to gain voters. He has a record of progressive policies, right? So Harris, progressives haven't always liked Harris, right? She's not the most progressive person out there to begin with, and many of them aren't super thrilled at voting for a former cop. So she needs to get those progressives on board. With Walz, that's more likely. And also, she needs to appeal to just the average working class voters. Now, unfortunately, We live in a very racist society. We live in a very misogynistic society. And so, she's somewhat at a disadvantage in both of those areas. But, and this is like very superficial, it's terrible people think this way, but, well, we have an old white man as a VP. So, okay, that's more like the status quo. So maybe that would help. But also, Walz has appealed to white working class voters before. And he's, portrayed himself as sort of an everyman, served, been a social studies teacher, he's done these various things. And so he's someone with a lot of experiences who hopefully, hopefully those experiences will resonate with people who have done military service, who have been in the teaching profession. So yeah, I mean, Harris is walking, a tightrope with this, and Walz is definitely someone who could balance those needs, appeal to just average working class voters, particularly white working class voters, but also, appeal to the progressives in her party. The Democrats always need the progressives on their side, or they can't win. I wanted to play, I saw this on TikTok. This is an ad from Walz. And, got to take ads with a grain of salt, but as a ad, it works, and it's a good ad, so I thought I would play it quickly.
I had students come to me who were concerned that there was an uptick in some bullying towards our gay and lesbian students. And this is in the mid-90s. They asked if I would be interested in helping start a gay straight alliance group. My answer was absolutely. And I recognized my responsibility in that. You have an older, white, straight, married male football coach who's deeply concerned that these students are treated fairly and that there's no bullying. And the idea that my players would be interested in coming to that and learn and to speak, to create a culture in a school that was welcoming, open, and understanding was something Gwen and I always strove for.
So, I mean, there you go. Back in the 90s, he was supportive of gay straight alliance. So another check mark for his record and his reputation. But yeah, so all in all, it's probably a really good choice for Harris. He'll appeal to multiple demographics, and we'll see how it goes going forward.